You're in an exam hall. Your hands are shaking, your brain completely blank. The clock, ruthless, ticking down like a time bomb. You flip through the pages, desperate, searching, hoping for a question you can confidently answer. But deep inside, there's that sinking realization. You studied the wrong way. The moment this truth hits you, it's already too late. Now imagine a different reality. The same exam hall, the same ticking clock. But this time, you're calm. Your pen moves with precision. Every question, exactly what you expected, because you prepared the right way. What if I told you there's a method that guarantees you'll never feel that gut-wrenching panic again? A method so powerful it's like having a cheat code for ACCA, and yet, 99% of ACCA students have never heard of it. Until now. Let's see why most ACCA students are trapped in a losing game. You see, the biggest scam in ACCA? It's not the difficulty of the exam. It's something far more dangerous, something hiding in plain sight. The way we've been trained to study, it's setting you up to fail. Think about it. Most students cram, they highlight pages, they make notes, they reread the same textbooks over and over again, convincing themselves they're studying. And then, they sit for the exam and freeze. The information vanishes, the concepts feel alien, the questions seem impossible. And do you know what the worst part is? They blame themselves. I should have studied harder. I just don't have the brains for this. Maybe ACCA isn't for me, but it's not their fault. Because the system was designed to trick them. A CCA doesn't test how much you can memorize. It tests how well you can think. It's a mental chess game, and if you don't train your brain the right way, you're walking straight into failure. But not you, because you're about to learn a strategy that flips the entire system in your favor. Here is the ACCA Success Roadmap, which no one tells you about. Let me ask you something. Would you enter a battlefield without knowing how to fight? No strategy, no weapons, just hoping you'll make it through. That's how most ACCA students prepare for their exams. They cram, they memorize, they collect notes like trophies, thinking more is better. But when the real battle begins, they get slaughtered. Here's why. A CCA isn't a memory game. It's a strategic war. And the syllabus? It's not a list of topics. It's a map, a blueprint, designed to test your ability to think like a financial leader. Think of it like a skill tree in a video game. At level 1, you unlock the core fundamentals. Without these, you're defenseless. At level 2, you start stacking power moves, concepts that give you an edge over the average student. At level 3, you gain exam-dominating abilities, the kind that let you predict the hardest questions before they even appear. The problem? 99% of students don't follow this roadmap. They treat every topic the same. They waste weeks on things that barely matter and ignore the ones that could skyrocket their scores. And that's exactly why they fail. But not you. Because now I'm about to give you the exact blueprint to level up fast and dominate ACCA like a pro. The ACCA study method that saves you 50+ hours. Right now, you're probably wasting 70% of your study time without even realizing it. Not because you're lazy, not because you're not smart enough, but because you've been taught to study the wrong way. Most students follow the same losing formula. Read the textbooks first, take endless notes, then, finally, attempt past papers. That's backwards. And the worst part? By the time they reach past papers, they've already forgotten half of what they studied. But top scorers? They flip the system. They use something called the reverse mastery method, a game-changing approach that cuts out the fluff and trains your brain to think like an examiner. Step 1. Start with past exam questions. First. Sounds crazy, right? But think about it. Why would you blindly study everything when the exam follows predictable patterns? Go through past papers immediately and train your brain to recognize which topics come up again and again. Step 2. Study only what's frequently tested. Most students waste time on low-priority topics that barely show up in the exam. Instead, focus 80% of your time on the core areas that the examiners love testing. This one shift alone saves you 30+ hours. Step 3. Train like an examiner. Understand how they try to trick you. Here's the brutal truth. Examiners don't care how much you studied. Their job is to filter out who truly understands the concepts versus who just memorized random facts. And they do this with trick questions, misleading wording, and time pressure. So instead of just learning the content, learn the examiner's mindset. Ask yourself, why did they phrase the question this way? What's the most common mistake students make here? How do they expect me to mess up? Step 4. Use active recall and question mapping, so answers come instantly in the exam. Reading notes isn't enough. Highlighting isn't enough. Your brain remembers what it's forced to retrieve. That's why top scorers use active recall, constantly testing themselves, predicting answers, and mapping out related concepts in their head. This way, when you see a tough question in the exam, your brain already knows where to pull the answer from. Why this method works. Saves 50+ hours by removing useless study techniques. Prepares you for real exam conditions from day one. Gives you the same advantage as ACCA rank holders. Most students never hear about this strategy, but now you do. And if you use it, you'll never walk into an exam unprepared again. Want more battle-tested ACCA study hacks? Subscribe now, because this is just the beginning. The secret that could save your ACCA journey. I wish someone had told me this earlier. There's one fatal mistake that has ruined the careers of thousands of ACCA students. And the scariest part, most of them don't even realize they're making it. They study hard, they follow the syllabus, they do everything by the book. And yet, they fail. Not because they aren't smart, not because they didn't try, but because they fell into the biggest ACCA trap. The invisible trap that's stealing your success. A CCA isn't just testing what you know. It's testing how you apply it under pressure. Most students spend months preparing for the exam, but they never train for the battlefield. They memorize theory, but struggle with real-world case studies. They understand concepts but freeze when faced with time pressure. They go through past papers, but never learn how to think like an examiner. And that's why they fail. Because ACCA doesn't just require you to know the material, it requires you to think like a professional. The fix: study like a future accountant, not just a student. Top scorers do one thing differently. They don't just study for the exam, they prepare for the real world. Here's how you escape the failure trap. Practice under real exam conditions. No distractions, no rewrites. Set a timer and simulate the actual exam environment. Train your brain to handle pressure. Anyone can solve a question when they have unlimited time. But can you think fast, manage stress, and prioritize effectively? Learn to spot examiner tricks instantly. Every ACCA exam is filled with trap questions designed to confuse you. If you don't learn to recognize patterns, you'll waste time second-guessing yourself. Adopt the mindset of a professional. Stop treating ACCA like a school exam. Start thinking like a future finance expert who makes high-stakes decisions daily. Why this matters now: most students figure this out after they've failed. But you don't have to. You have the chance to train the right way before it's too late. And if you follow this, you'll be in the top 1% of ACCA students who actually understand what it takes to win. If this clicked for you, imagine what else you've been missing. Subscribe now, because the biggest secrets are yet to come.